Welcome to the first episode of my new segment called The Roast. Now, what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to be taking a lot of overhyped athletes and their respective sports and pretty much bringing them down to what they really are. And these are usually guys that are perceived to be the face of whatever sport they play due to their deceptive abilities or the deception that the media is using to push them on the fans, whatever the case may be. If there's a hole there where I actually see that this guy is not as great as the fans perceive him to be, then I'm going to roast that ass. Now, one thing you'll understand about this channel is that I don't give a fuck who you are. Now, I have a favorite boxer, I have a favorite basketball player, a favorite football player, a favorite tennis player, but if those guys or girls are fucking up, I will not hesitate to put that ass on blast and roast that ass. And that's exactly why I made this segment, because this is the meat of why I created my channel. You know what I'm saying? Tired of all the bullshit media out there that spews a lot of propaganda like ESPN, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't know shit about boxing, or they favor a certain athlete because there's money under the table or there's promises to go to VIP. Like, what's his name? Stephen A. Smith comes out uh, publicly and says this shit constantly. Yeah, I'm going to so and so's VIP party, after this. Well, that's why the motherfucker ain't gonna talk bad about him then. You know what I'm saying? And Chris Broussard, he's Mr. Los Angeles Lakers. He don't ever talk bad about Kobe Bryant ever. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have an agenda. I don't get money under the table. I'm gonna say what the fuck I want, and it's gonna go to the people that matter. You know what I'm saying? The first edition is going to be on Gennady Golovkin simply because, number one, the hype train is out of fucking control. It's out of control. I watched this guy and I just can't believe how much hype he has generated. Now I know why and how the hype has generated, but I didn't know people could be so fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? And it's not really just that. It's because they're casual fans and they're being deceived by the media, right? It's obvious what Gennady Golovkin's trying to do. It's so fucking obvious, right? Basically, his team has Gennady Golovkin in protective custody. I mean, this is like CIA type shit, dog. It's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It's the best protection I've almost ever seen in my lifetime for a fighter. Almost. You know what I'm saying? He's a knockout puncher, right? Think of yourself as a casual fan if you're not and you're watching this video. He's a knockout puncher, right? They put him up against a bunch of guys that have padded records. They fought a bunch of cab drivers and carpenters, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucking lawn mowing people, mowers, people and shit, and landscaping people, whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? He's fighting a bunch of guys like that got second jobs basically because they're not making no fucking money in boxing, and those guys have fought guys that are worse than them. You know what I'm saying? So they've padded their records on guys that are worse than them. So they're ranked somewhere in the top 20, 30 maybe. The middleweight division is not very stacked. So you could have a cab driver easily ranked in the top 20 for beating up other cab drivers, right? His record is padded. So Triple G's team, Tim Loeffler, you know what I'm saying, and that guinea pig looking motherfucker Abel Sanchez that says the dumbest shit in the media, basically telling the casual fans that Willie Monroe Jr. has a better fan base than Arislandi Lara. That's another fucking topic. I'll get to that in a minute. But my point is, his team takes these bums with padded records and they feed them to Gennady Golovkin, and he straight obliterates these guys in front of the casuals, thus leading the casuals to believe that Gennady Golovkin is probably the best boxer in the sport. And I've actually seen posts on different boxing forums, and motherfuckers actually say this in conversations that I've had, that Gennady Golovkin is at least number 2 pound for pound. Now, how the fuck can you be number 2 pound for pound and you have yet to fight a A class fighter, a B plus, or even a B class fighter? Right? I'm about to break this shit down so beautifully that if you're a casual fan, you have no choice but to understand why Gennady Golovkin, and this leads to point number 2, why he has no reason to think he's the A side against the likes of Andre Ward, and point number 3, how he does not deserve a fight with Floyd Mayweather, right? Now, recently in the media, you know what I'm saying, there's been a lot of shit going on between Gennady Golovkin and Andre Ward. And then, Golovkin was already popular off of what I just said. He's beating up a lot of C-level fighters and knocking them the fuck out, basically doing what you're supposed to do if you're perceived or you think of yourself as an A-level fighter. You're supposed to knock those guys out. They have second jobs. You know what I'm saying? So boxing is what you do on a daily basis. You're supposed to knock those guys out, right? Um, but basically, he's gotten the spotlight in a major way after May 2nd, when all of the casuals who've been following Manny Pacquiao finally saw what I've been seeing since before 2009, when it was first talked about in 2008, 2007. Um, but really, the casuals were really following Manny Pacquiao when he knocked out Oscar De La Hoya. That's when his name was acclimated with the public on a permanent basis. So a lot of the casual fans are like, they knew who Oscar De La Hoya was, regardless of the fact that Oscar De La Hoya was drained, regardless of the fact that he moved from 160 to 140, regardless of the fact that during training camp he was taking weight loss pills and not eating. None of that shit matters to casual fans because they don't fucking know about it. But they just know the name. Manny Pacquiao knocks him out. They see Floyd Mayweather got a split decision against him. Oh, so they do the they like to do the if this then this in boxing. So since he had a better outing against Oscar De La Hoya, they pretty much conclude that Manny Pacquiao will beat Floyd Mayweather. In mathematics, that's kind of like the associative property. You know what I'm saying? But that shit don't work in boxing. Um, and he's got a lot of spotlight, or Manny Pacquiao had a lot of spotlight for that reason. After May 2nd, Floyd Mayweather basically made that shit look like fucking baking a cake. You know what I'm saying? So all the casuals have now moved to the Gennady Golovkin hype train, which is a major fucking problem because that train was already way too hyped as it is. It was going way too fast as it is, and that shit needs to be derailed. Uh, then with the whole thing with Andre Ward, they've been going back and forth. Golovkin said this, Andre said that. A reporter asked Andre and Golovkin at the same time, are they ready for the fight? Golovkin said yes. Andre said no because of his shoulder. Golovkin's like, you're a pussy, you're a bitch. He didn't say that, but he's basically like, you don't want to fight me. I tried to fight you, you don't want to fight me. Now you want to fight me now. Fuck that. We come on my terms. I'm the A-level fighter, or I'm the A side of the negotiations, which is complete bullshit. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you in this breakdown that Andre Ward has done more than Gennady Golovkin in less than half the fights that I break down for both fighters. Also, Floyd Mayweather has done more than Gennady Golovkin in half the fighters that I use to break down both fighters. Let's roast this motherfucker, man. So what I'm going to do here is, from September 2012 to the present, Gennady Golovkin has fought 10 fighters. And I'm going to basically go through each of these fighters. I'm going to rate them, pretty much A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, C plus, C minus, etc. You know what I'm saying? Rate them at that level. Give you their record at the time that they fought Gennady Golovkin. Give you the record against their last 3 opponents, In some cases, I'm going to combine the records of their last three opponents. Other cases, I'm going to tell you who their last three opponents were, or maybe two of the last three. And then I'm going to tell you if these guys, any of these 10 guys, have ever held at least one of the four major sanctioning bodies. Now, casual fans, do not go on BoxRec, look up one of these fighters, and tell me he has held a title. He held the WBO interim, or the WBC Continental, or the WBC no. Listen, there's only four major belts that fucking matter. They don't have no sub name. It's the WBO, and in Gennady Golovkin's case, it will be the WBO middleweight, the WBC middleweight, the WBA middleweight, IBF middleweight. Those are the only four major sanctioning bodies that fucking matter. If you hold one of those titles, or if you have held one of those titles, and you've defended those titles successfully, you're more than likely probably going to be pound for pound in that division. If you've done it consecutively so many fucking times, it's outrageous. You will probably be pound for pound in the sport of boxing. Right now, Golovkin, the last time I looked, that was last month, he was rated number 5 pound for pound in the sport of boxing, which is bullshit ass media propaganda. Let's do the first guy. Now, I remember this guy. This was actually the first fight that I seen Gennady Golovkin as a professional. I had seen him as an amateur. I saw him in the Olympics. I actually thought a Cuban guy that he fought in the Olympics, it could have went either way. It was a very close fight, but they gave it to Golovkin. Could have went either way. But I was still impressed with Golovkin as an amateur. And this fight right here, I knew of Gregor's Proxa. I knew of him. I had seen him fight 2 times prior to the Golovkin fight, and I wasn't impressed. And I knew Golovkin was going to knock this guy out. And lo and behold, that's exactly what he did. When he fought Golovkin, he was 28-1. I rate him a C- level fighter. His last 3 fights, he's 1-2. So that tells you right there, fighting Golovkin, he's 28-1. Very padded record. And I'm telling you with experience, I knew this guy was. Very padded record. His last 3 fights, he's somewhat curtailed off. He's taken 2 losses out of his last 3 fights. And they're not against guys that are the top middleweights of the division. You know what I'm saying? And he's never held any of the 4 major sanctioning bodies. C- level fighter. Let's go to the next guy. Gabriel Rosado, a more popular guy than Gregor's Proxa, right? But see, at one point, Gabriel Rosado was seen as he could be potentially one of the better fighters in the junior middleweight division. He wasn't yet seen as one of the best fighters. He was just a guy on a lot of boxing enthusiasts' radar, right? Now, when he fought Golovkin, he was 21-5. That's a decent record. But that was at the junior middleweight division. He moved up to Gennady Golovkin's division of middleweight and took that L. His last 3 fights, he's 0-3. He has now moved himself down as a gatekeeper. His last loss was to David Lemieux. He got knocked out, and before that, he got knocked out by Peter Quillen. So, while those are some of the best guys in the middleweight division, once again, you got to win to get the respect that you feel you deserve, to be perceived as one of the best guys in your division, if not the best guys, one of the best guys in your sport. And Gabriel Rosado, let's face it, he's not seen as one of the best guys in his division. He's seen as possibly a contender, but more of a gatekeeper. I rate him a C-level fighter. And he's never held any of the 4 major sanctioning bodies. There's also a very interesting video that he came up with. I can't remember who the reporter was, but he talks about how Golovkin's gloves don't feel like there's any padding in them. He said that Golovkin wasn't the hardest hitter he's ever faced. He said that his punches felt like more like fists than gloves, or at least padding in those gloves. He said he felt, quote, he felt straight hand wraps. You know what I'm saying? Very interesting video. I can't remember the name of it, but I guess, search Gabriel Rosado on YouTube, you'll pull it up. All right, let's go to the next guy. Nobuhiro Ishida. Now, This is a guy that a Japanese fighter. Most Japanese fighters in higher weight divisions, they're not effective. You know what I'm saying? They're not guys that are going to be world champions in higher divisions. Most Japanese fighters, they take care of the lower divisions, right? Well, when he fought Gennady Golovkin, he was 24-8. That's not a very good record. That's actually a journeyman type record, right? I rate him a D plus level fighter. Now his last three fights, this is a part of deception, and I will call this out as I go along this list. Deception. His last three casuals. You go back and look at his last three. He's 2-1, right? But if you combine the opponent's records of those last three fights, the records are 26 wins, 18 losses, and 5 draws. Now, that's less than a cab driver in the sport of boxing to have 18 losses, 5 draws, and 26 wins. That's less than a cab driver. So that tells you right there that even though he has 8 losses, a lot of those 24 wins were against padded opponents or guys that really aren't that great, right? And he's never held any of the 4 major sanctioning bodies. Let's move to the next guy. Matthew Macklin, another more popular guy. He's out of the UK. Pretty good fighter. Now, he was actually getting a lot of steam going through the ranks until he faced Sergio Martinez. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me, he got knocked out in the 11th round against Sergio Martinez. And a lot of people thought that fight was pretty close leading up to the knockout, but nevertheless, he got knocked out. Uh, he had to take a step back. Now, this is the thing about boxing. We all we all pretty much measure our fighters based on how the American fan base perceives them. Now, I'm not saying this shit because I'm American. This is just facts, right? We can have a guy in the UK. Perfect example, Joe Calzaghe, man. We can have a guy in the UK that is pretty much running the shit out of the UK circuit. I mean, think of it as leagues. You got the UK, which would be like the FIBA in basketball. Compared to basketball, it's like FIBA, the International League, and then you have the NBA in America, where a lot of those guys in FIBA, they're good enough to play in the NBA, and there's a lot of guys that come from FIBA that play in the NBA and they do well. Dirk Nowitzki's one guy, right? So, but still, FIBA is still second class compared to the NBA. Same thing with boxing. In the UK, they have their own league. I mean, they have belts that are very prestigious over there, but they don't mean shit in America, like the Commonwealth belt or the BBBFC. You know what I'm saying? Those belts don't mean shit in America, but they're very prestigious in the UK because they have their own league. My example of Joe Calzaghe, yes, he's in the Boxing Hall of Fame. He has respect for being an undefeated fighter, but he's not talked about with a lot of the other Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? He's actually a lost Hall of Famer. If you didn't know boxing very well, uh, you wouldn't really know if Joe Calzaghe was in the Hall of Fame unless you looked it up. You know what I'm saying? And that's primarily because he spent majority of his career fighting guys in the UK. And when he decided to come over to the American soil, he fought Bernard Hopkins, a fight that I thought he lost, to a very close fight, and didn't give him a rematch, so he got a lot of criticism from the American public there. And then he fought a washed up Roy Jones Jr., a fight where he was knocked down in that fight. He was also knocked down in the Bernard Hopkins fight, but then he went on to dominate. But people didn't give him a lot of the credit because Roy Jones had already been knocked out twice in his career and had 3 losses total. You know what I'm saying? So if he would have done that earlier, if he would have fought Roy Jones back in the 90s and beat him like that, oh, he would have gotten all the credit in the world. So, and this is what Matthew Macklin, when he lost to Sergio Martinez, it's like when you've spent majority of your career in the UK or fighting C-level fighters, and you've got steam, and then you finally lose to a guy that America perceives, or the boxing rankings perceived to be one of the best in boxing, then you take like 3 steps back as opposed to just 1 step back if you were an American or a Cuban fighter, right? So with that loss to Sergio Martinez, I rate him a C plus level fighter. His last 3 he's 2-1. Now, if we combine the opponent's record, it's 61 wins, 16 losses, and 5 draws. Now, that's not terrible, but it's not good either. It's about average. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the combined records. Now, when you look at the guys that he's fought, they're not guys that are B or even A level type fighters. They're both, all three are C, D level type fighters with padded records, beating up other carpenters or cab drivers. And he himself has never held one of the four major sanctions